Hello everyone, this is EPAF and welcome to the first solo commentary of 19D Productions. Today we're doing Res for the PlayStation 2, or in my case the Xbox 360 Live Arcade. As you can see, the Live Arcade version gives you the opportunity to play it in high definition, which is what I'm doing in my case. So let's crack on with Area 1. Now just a quick point that I want to raise here whilst the opportunity has arisen. In this section, while I was doing my test plays, if you want to call them, earlier today, I realised that the pitch was quicker than it is now. And in this case, it's slowed down quite a bit than it usually is. I don't know whether anybody else has come across that in their versions of Res. I just found that a little bit odd. Thankfully, it does return to normal speed and normal pitch once we progress further into the level, thankfully. So just to explain the actual concept of each level, the idea is, just like all shoot 'em ups, is to not get hit, and near the end you'll find an enemy like that carrying a cube, and the idea is to hit it 8 times, and that will transport you to the next layer, as it's called, of each level. So we're on to layer 02. We started on 00. And as you'll notice, the actual tempo of the song gets quicker, but it actually gets more layered as well. As you may have noticed on the actual first layer that we started on, it was just comprised of a simple drum beat, simple one-tone instrument, but as we progress more through the level, more instruments and more effects get applied to it, and also some vocals as well. For anyone who's heard the soundtrack or is interested in the soundtrack, the actual songs themselves, they don't progress in the same way as the level progresses them. They're actually just in their final layered form, if you want to use that definition. There are points in each level where you will attack enemies from the side view. You can turn the little character you're controlling full 360 to the left or to the right, but in most cases it's the enemies who appear either behind you, to the front like that, or appear right in front of you. In most cases you don't really need to turn left and right unless it's specified specifically on that layer. Now I just want to explain the level up and the level down concept here. As you may have noticed, I was collecting little blue items, and they appeared on the bottom left hand side there, filling up on the meter. Once you collect enough, I'm just counting here, once you collect 8 of the blue items, you level up and evolve, I think it's called, into a different form of your little computer character. I'm not too sure whether that actually makes any difference in terms of strength, abilities. I think that's just a way as to illustrate the fact that you can evolve your character. But obviously if you get hit, you layer down, or you evolve down, so to speak, and your final lowest form that you can be is just a sphere. If you get hit then it's game over and you have to start the level again. I won't spoil anything with the maximum evolutionary stage that you can get, but you'll find out later on. But at the moment you're sort of like a bodily figure, like a skeleton. Is that the best way to describe it? No, we'll just call it a digital skeleton for now. Now, as well as the simple enemies that you can just hit, there are also projectile firing enemies like this. It's best advised to focus on the projectiles as well as the main enemy itself. If the enemies do get a chance to fire projectiles, it's best to destroy the projectiles first rather than the enemy itself. Obviously, one hit by a projectile and you will devolve down to the previous level. As you may hear, the song's really starting to pick up now. A lot more instruments, a lot more effects, and it's got a nice beat to it. But another thing, a concept, one of the unique things about Res is that all the sound effects for your character, especially when shooting and targeting, they are all musically sound based, and you can actually alter the soundtrack itself by doing it, by firing, which I thought was a really nice touch, and it added to its instinctive uniqueness about this game, which I really liked. In those cases where the field is actually full of enemies and the cube itself, don't automatically presume that you've hit the cube 8 times, so just make sure that you do get the targeting sight over the cube, just to make sure. But there is a jingle when you activate the cube 8 times, so you should be able to recognise that. Now for those people who actually prefer getting, like, you know, 100% in levels, it's best to actually keep focus of the enemy's directions and the enemy's placements in front of your field, because there are a lot of enemies that don't actually intend to attack you but just fly by. So it's important to keep your focus on the enemy's positioning as well, but that's only for people who are really specific for 100% gains. For everyone else, if you miss them, then it's no real bother, they won't attack you, so you don't have to worry about it. So we're heading towards the boss section now, after this tight little corridor. This little rambling of programming language, which I do not have a bloody clue over. I really like the drum beat and the pickup of actually getting to the boss section itself. And the boss for this level, strangely enough, is called Earth. How many times can you say that? You get the chance to destroy Earth and feel good about it. Didn't think so. So the idea here is just to spam the hell out of the targeting sight and just keep on destroying all the tiles that make up Earth, quote. Once enough tiles are vanished, just aim for the 4 compass direction points there. That's its weak point. But at the same time, make sure that you watch for the projectiles that it fires at you. There are 9 projectiles in total. You've got to shoot the 8 outside ones and then destroy the centre one. But be quick about it, because although they look like they're flying slowly, they actually do appear quite quickly, and there have been occasions where I've been, you know, put off by them. And I've actually not focused attention on them, and I have devolved down. So take care in it. Yeah, they are very specifically placed, so it's not just a case of targeting in a specific place. You've got to really wiggle the controller in order to get as much as a max hit as possible. Another thing I like to note of is that I like the animation of the tiles, if you want to call them. I do. But I like the animation style of the tiles resurfacing and regenerating onto Earth itself. I like the fact that they're sort of dancing and then reforming back onto the Earth module itself. For anyone who's a bit curious on why it's called Earth, I don't want to spoil too much in terms of the storyline of this game, but in terms of rares, essentially it's part of a main computer program, and Earth is a sort of subcore, if you want to call it that. And as a hacker, which is your role here, your idea here is to destroy the subcore and eventually get to the final core module of this massive program, which is obviously the final boss of this game. So you're essentially hacking into private property and security property, which I'm sure the majority of people would not think is good, but in this case it's very, very good. Again, take note on the projectiles and the fact that they will fire them. Don't lose sight of them, even if you are trying to defeat the boss. Make sure that when they do appear, projectiles are your top priority. So once the boss's health is about down to between a quarter and a third, it will change formation from a globe into 2 corresponding rings, making it slightly more difficult to get aims on them, but not much more difficulty than before. I don't need to remind you that, to keep focus on those projectiles. Obviously it's a lot easier when you're focusing on this bottom ring here, but especially when they go diagonally, it becomes slightly more difficult to aim, but I don't need to talk much because I've beaten it. Boom. Earth has been destroyed. Now this is a nice little touch as well, the fact that you fly through the ores to get your statistics. You can skip this, of course, by holding down the A button and whatnot, but I thought not to. Rubbish walking animation there, but no, who cares. I've already played this before, I've unlocked all the areas, but still, join us in part 2 where we'll be doing Area 2. See you later.